A lot of people expected the Minnesota Timberwolves to take a jump last season. They were a surprising playoff team in 2022 and were the 7th seed. As a reaction to that, they traded for 3-time Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert. But they finished as the 8th seed in 2023, one spot worse than the year prior. However, there are reasons for that. All-star big man Karl-Anthony Towns played just 29 games due to injury last season. It was also the group's first year together with all the new guys, but I expect them to take the jump this season that many expected last year. Towns should play more games, but that's not really why I think they will. It was a breakout summer for Anthony Edwards, emerging as the best player on Team USA and previewing a superstar breakout next season. He made his first All-Star game last year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he makes his first All-Star start this season. Another thing is that Rudy Gobert may not even be their best defender. Jaden McDaniels has reportedly grown to a towering 6'11" after grading out by many metrics as the best perimeter defender in the league last season. A lot of people focus on the two All-Star caliber big men in Towns and Gobert when talking about Minnesota. But the real stars of this team are Edwards and McDaniels, and both can be All-Star level talents on the wings. It's very rare you find a duo as good offensively and defensively as those two, and both are just 22 years old. They can be a star-level duo in Minnesota for a long time, and I think it'll start this season. The Minnesota Timberwolves are much better than people think. Now let's take a deeper look at why. Before we get into the young contenders in Minnesota, if you enjoy my content and watch a few videos of mine, think about subscribing. 91% of my viewers are actually not subscribed, so if you're watching before and enjoy the content, drop a sub and comment down below. It really helps the channel. As of right now, according to win totals, the Timberwolves are projected to finish 7th place in the Western Conference. It would be an improvement from the 8th place finish last season, but I think this team has the talent to be near the top of the Western Conference. They have 4 players who've made an All-Star game within the last 3 seasons, and another who could make one soon with McDaniels. The chemistry is going to be better, key guys will have improved, and Towns won't miss nearly as many games. This team is going to be noticeably better next season and really shock a lot of people. But that relies on the players, so let's take a look at the impact guys for Minnesota. For a long time, many viewed the Timberwolves as Towns' team. But make no mistake, the Wolves are Anthony Edwards' team now. He proved that last season and is only going to continue to get better. He made his first All-Star game last season at just 21 years old. For the year, he averaged 25 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1.5 steals per game. I don't think it's a reach that he could get to 30 points per game this season. He'll dunk over anyone and is one of the best trash talkers in the game. He was not acting when playing Kermit Wilts, that's just who he is. He's emerging as one of the best shooting guards in the league and could take the mantle as the best this season. He's a very high-end defender as well, which is refreshing for a player of his status. The guy is must-watch TV, or as Stephen A. would say, he's box office. Then I want to shift us not to either of the big men, but 22-year-old wing Jaden McDaniels. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA, and he knows it. I do believe I'm the best defender in the NBA, McDaniels said on multiple occasions last season. In a league focused so much on offense, McDaniels knew he was a difference maker on defense. He was the only player in the league last season to have at least 75 blocks and 70 steals. He led all wings in block rate, dropped opponents' expected shooting at the rim by 7%, and spent the most time guarding all-star players of any defender in the league. He played in 79 games in the regular season before missing the playoffs with a broken hand, and also posted career highs in scoring at 12.1 points per game and 3-point shooting at 40%. I expect his offense to take a step forward if called upon, and newly standing at 6'11", I expect him to wreak havoc this season. Then we should talk about Rudy Gobert. People love to hate on the guy. He essentially shut the league down in 2020 and isn't much of an offensive threat. But whether you love him or hate him, he's a very impactful player. Despite many believing he had some great fall off last season, he still had the 7th best defensive rating in the whole league. He averaged 13 points and 12 rebounds per game, while shooting 66% from the field. You could argue he wasn't quite as good as in years past, but I expect him to be more towards his normal this season. His block numbers were down, but that could be because he has competent wing defenders stopping opponents before they even get there. Then we should talk about the other all-star caliber big man in Karl-Anthony Towns. The 29 games he played last year was the lowest mark of Big Purr's career. He was still solid when on the floor, averaging 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. There was definitely some trouble adjusting to playing alongside another center, but in year 2 we should see a more adjusted version of it. He was very good with the Dominican Republic this summer in the World Cup, and could carry that confidence into the regular season with the T-Wolves. Finally, I want to talk about the reliable presence at point guard Mike Conley. A pass-first point guard that doesn't really care about getting his own shots. He's practically the opposite of D'Angelo Russell, the point guard he replaced last season. He is almost 36 years old, so a drop-off could be coming, but the team isn't going to rely on him for offense all that much anyway. He should still be able to set up his teammates at a high level. Last season, Conley averaged 12 points, 7 assists, and a steal per game, while shooting nearly 39% from 3. He's not going to make the All-Star team like he did in 2021, but he's exactly what Minnesota needs. There are some other guys that I won't dive into quite as much, but are worth mentioning. Naz Reid returned on a good-sized contract this summer and is one of the best backup bigs in the entire league. He will be extremely valuable off the bench. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had a nice playoff series against the Nuggets, averaging 8 points per game and shooting 40% from 3. He could be a high-volume scoring guy off the bench. I think he could become an important role player. I also really like rookie second-round pick Leonard Miller. I'd say he's one of the steals of the 2023 NBA draft and can really play make for a guy of his size. In terms of lineup, the starters for the Wolves should be Conley, Edwards, McDaniels, Towns, and Gobert. Then the second unit should be Shake Milton, Alexander Walker, Troy Brown, Kyle Anderson, and Naz Reid. Guys like Miller, Jordan McLaughlin, and Wendell Moore could get some minutes as well. So what should we expect from the Wolves in 2024? On the low end, they could finish inside the play-in tournament again and fight to make the playoffs that way. On the high end, the team could finish with a top 4 seed and enter the playoffs with home court advantage. Expect at least one All-Star in Edwards, but McDaniels, Towns, and Gobert all have a chance of making it as well. It's hard for me to see this team not improving this season. I heavily expect jumps from both Edwards and McDaniels. There just aren't that many teams that have 4 All-Star caliber players on the roster. The Minnesota Timberwolves are much better than people think. Thanks for watching. I'm Herm. Have a good one.